Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out. With your hosts, Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. On this week's show, you missed the point. I'm clicking, opening. Oh my goodness. Hello.
Ahoy.
Ahoy. Yeah, got things open. Right.
Yes. Listeners, for your behind the curtain section this week, the reason Colin is frantically opening random things and trying to get his life together is we decided to record about 45 minutes ago. Because this is the week of Thanksgiving. And I think we both sort of realized, wait a minute. When can we do things this week? So this was
we realized quickly we could not do many things. Actually,
that's true. And so here we are.
And I'm all thrown off because also did I take notes last time? Because I don't see any notes for our last time we recorded. I'm really confused.
Yeah,
thought I did.
I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, I don't. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, here it is. It's fine. I scrolled down too. I scrolled down too far. Yes,
yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Let's put it here.
There we go.
Happy
That's where it goes.
165, episode
Well, hey,
5. That's coming out of nowhere.
Exciting.
Yes. So yeah, little peek, peek behind the kimono or whatever that's called. We are recording week of Thanksgiving, prior to Thanksgiving. So
with no notice whatsoever.
It'd
be fine.
Okay. This is, this is what artists do. They work under pressure. They do stuff and things.
Yeah. And since we rarely have a plan anyway, it really is no different than normal.
Right.
So like
it doesn't. Are you saying it doesn't technically really matter when we record the episode?
No.
Huh.
Very rarely do we have plans.
That's shocking.
We have plans sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes is a plan going on.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
No. Well, this past week I ventured to the DMV to pay taxes on a vehicle that I purchased.
Yes. That was in last week's episode.
You what?
We talked about that.
Yeah. And then I had to...
I was recapping for the listener.
Recapping. And then I had to renew the Jeep license plate and registration, which was fun. I have not once ever been able to use the...
the online thing?
The online thing.
Really?
Yes. And here's the reason why. When we registered for this, I for some reason they put both Megan's and my name on it, and it is separated by an ampersand.
Oh.
and there are middle initials. And
so you never type in the correct name.
I can never type in the correct name. I have always gotten it wrong, and then it locks me out and it says go call somebody.
You're a hacker.
I am a hacker.
You're a Russian bot trying to register a vehicle in
Missouri. In Missouri, because that's how they get you.
That's true.
How they get you. And so I actually...
Listen, lots of things are possible since Elon fired the entire Twitter staff. So...
And they're going straight for those small town DMVs. That's what I hear. That's
that's
call
where
those
you go.
Soft targets.
Yeah.
And I called... Oh, and here's the other thing is I never keep my paid property tax receipt in a place where I can remember it ever.
Obviously not. No one would ever keep those with their other tax documents.
No.
That would be a thing no one would do ever.
No. So I don't ever keep them anywhere. And I have just always gone back to the county clerk to have them issue me a new one
Lord.
when I need, well, because also in order to access that, I have to enter the information exactly the same to match the county. Anyway, so I just never do this. And I've actually been going to the county clerk to get a copy of Pay Proper Taxes and then driving to the DMV and standing in line.
You are the exact reason the DMV line is so long all the time. People without the right paperwork, it's all messed up.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what the?
So this year, what I did was I asked the very, very kind county clerk to please help me because I was like, look, I have tried this every year. Every time it locks me out and then I can't do anything. I have to go in person anyway. How should I actually write this? And she said, exactly as it appears. And what I have not been doing was writing last name, comma, my name, middle initial, ampersand, Megan's name, middle initial, and no space. I've been trying to put it all like first name, middle initial, last name, but because
that's not how official documents function.
But that's not how it appears on the document. And so I was like, you have changed my world. So, ladies and gentlemen, 4 years into living in Missouri, I have been officially able to register that or update whatever the license plate for one of our vehicles.
Congratulations. It wouldn't. The only time we haven't been able to do it in the last 4 years or however long they've been doing this is they changed the license plate 2 years ago, and so like you couldn't do any of it because you had to go get
the new
new license plate. So we had to go in, and they're like, "Here, like, all right, sweet, bye."
No, I was like, oh, this is incredibly easy. Wow. So. I will say that's nice. Texas actually went, and I don't know if this is, again, all of this stuff happens on such an irregular enough frequency that I have no memory of what happened and how it happened last time, other than I was doing it wrong, right? Like it's one of those kind of things where I just need to videotape or screen record myself doing it and save that in a file.
Ugh. You'll lose. Because you won't remember what you named it.
No. What you do is
what'll happen.
You create a calendar event with a link to the save file on the doc. Yeah, it's fine. But in Texas, when we were there, you could when you had to go get the car inspected, all that was handled digitally as well. So that once the inspector ran their inspector thingamabob, you could go online and register even if you needed the inspection paperwork, because they could pull from to see that it had been inspected, because everybody uploaded it to a central database.
Oh,
and I was like, that was pretty slick. So you really could go get inspected and you wouldn't have to talk to another soul, because they all uploaded it to the same, didn't matter where you got the inspection, they all put it in the same place, and then they could pull from that information to make sure everything was kosher, which I thought was cool.
Well, it is really handy, because that way you don't have to mess with it too much. So it's very nice.
Yeah. So other than that, been spent the weekend doing more dog shadowing with staff members, and been interesting. I ran into.
That sounds very ominous, right?
No, it's one of those things of you write instructions, right? I have many an SOP with videos of me talking through them and scrolling through pages and highlighting things and talking about how it's done. I have them listen to the podcasts that Megan and I produce about certain topics. We have them watch YouTube videos and things like that. And then I shadow them in person. And then that's where you really see that's how you interpreted that. That's interesting. Such as one that I saw, and it hurt me. I said, okay, I have a whole podcast. I have a whole section of our recipes about taking photos, right? Photos, it's one of those things people don't really care about, but like we don't send blurry photos. We don't send dark photos. We don't send, angry looking photos or sad looking photos. Like there's a whole process. And one of the things that I tell people is, to get down on their level, and you can take your photo, and when you're walking a dog, have your 2 points of contact. So you have the wrist strap around your wrist on one hand. You pull with your other hand on the leash to pull the dog towards you, like you're going to put it in a heel. And then you, in the hand that's not holding the leash, you take your phone, you bend down, and you take a side profile photo of the dog walking. Super cute photos, right? But I kept looking at these photos going like, these are blurry. Why are these so blurry? Like it's in the afternoon, but it's not as much light as early, in the mornings or noon. But this is like 4 o'clock. Why is this blurry?
I have a guess.
Okay.
Can I guess?
Sure.
It's because your instruction said, like the dog is walking, and they were taking it while the dog was walking.
No.
Dang it.
No, good.
Okay.
Good. No, because I take photos with the dog walking, right? And what they were doing is they were using the selfie camera on their phone and holding it down so that they could see the photo of the dog and then take the photo.
This makes sense.
Makes total sense. It's wrong. And you should never use your selfie photo.
Sense,
it makes sense. I saw that and I was like, oh, I see. So now I have to do new instructions of like, never use your selfie camera. Ever. No, there's no reason to use your selfie camera unless you are outside at 1 o'clock on a bright sunny afternoon taking a selfie with the dog. Otherwise, this camera is broken to you. You should never use it. Because most people don't know how to position their phone blindly with the back camera and take a good photo. That's something you kind of learn. So now I've got to talk about that. But I watched people do this over this weekend like 4 times. And I was just like, oh, everybody uses their selfie camera for everything. That's okay. I have some things to change quite a bit. The other one is getting people used to kind of walking with their head on a swivel. I'm not saying we have to be Green Beret alert at all times, ready to be ambushed by, predator drones from the sky. But we do need to not just stare at our shoelaces as we walk for minutes on end. That's not safe.
Yeah, that's just good advice in general.
Right? Right. Yeah. So I'm watching people in their operating and how they're processing stuff. That's why shadowing is so important to get people thinking differently. And I'm sure sometimes it comes across as us being anal retentive about some of these topics, and why does it matter? Why would you care? Kind of stuff. But it's like, that I try and explain the reasons, and I'm not just like you're doing it wrong. As though is what I really want to say.
What I really want to say is you're doing it wrong.
I try and explain to them like this is safety. This is so you can react. This is all part of defensive dog handling and being aware of our surroundings. So I did the dad thing. I don't know if Dad ever did this to you while driving. He'd be like, "What color was that truck that passed you?" Or what was the last license plates? Numbers on the plate, kind of stuff. And most of the time I was like, I have no idea what.
I don't remember.
Okay. So I was doing this while we were walking of going, like, what color were the shoes on that person jogging? How many dogs were in that yard we just passed? trying to get people to get their head up and be constantly moving and looking around. Because otherwise you do get very just focus on my feet, focus on the dog. And that's the other part of just, it is important to focus on the dog, obviously. And I'm glad that they are so attentive to the dog. But also, there's many other things out there in the world that we need to be a little bit more aware of.
Well, and it's not just for like, so in this instance, it's definitely not just for their own personal safety, right? It is for the safety of the dog that's not yours, that you're walking around. So like, you got to be looking around for like, are there other dogs off leash here? Are there like that kind of stuff too? Because that is important information that you need when you have a dog that's walking through the thing. You need to be looking out for hazards. How will the dog react to this? Is the dog going to like chase this thing? Is this thing going to try to chase the dog? Like what other kinds of stuff are going on there? I think that would be the more important thing. Yeah. I mean, not more important than your own personal safety, obviously, but like,
but also
in regards to being a dog walker. Yeah. Right. That would be a very
it's personal and pet safety all in one. And the great thing is that simple actions take care of both things. Or like, what are there things? Because when you're staring just at your feet, you're not even staring 6 feet in front of you. So you miss the broken glass until you're walking on it, right? Yeah. You miss the candy that now the dog is chewing on, and trying to get people away from, because part of this is just the complacent mindset that most dog owners have, because they know their dog and they're very blasé about their own pets in a lot of cases. And trying to ingrain in these people in people's brains of like, you don't know this pet. You will care for this pet for an entire year and you will still not know this pet. And we have to treat every pet like it's a flight risk, like the worst thing could happen in a moment's notice. Because if we don't,
because it can,
right? Because it can. Will. That's the thing of like, why do I insist and yell at you whenever you don't have 2 points of contact on a leash? Because sure, this little 7-pound Yorkie, it's not going to be ripping anything out of your hand. But if you don't build the muscle memories,
you're going to walk later.
Yes, yeah. If you don't practice this now with the good dog, when you go to the dog that's a little bit more difficult, you're going to be completely out of your depth. And
when you're walking the Great Dane, right, it's going to be
it's incredibly dangerous to switch habits depending on our perception of what's going on.
That's true,
right? Because you will misjudge. You will. Of going, I'm in a safe situation now. Nope, I'm not. Never mind, dog is running away from me. Or whatever. Just go, I'm going to, and it's a simple thing. 2 hands on the leash at all times, regardless of how friendly or not pulling the dog is. Just that way, you never have to remember to do it. Because what happens is you get into a rash of really good dogs. Really wonderful dogs that would walk right beside you, even though you would drop the leash and tell them to run away. And then you just forget about it and it doesn't become part of your habit. And then you get a rash of dogs that will rip out your sockets at a moment's notice. And you are unprepared for that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that takes some mind shift change too. And the most damaged, the one that I see that happens a lot of, you're walking a dog and people are staring at their feet and the dog stops and smells something. The person keeps walking and then yanks the dog to keep walking with them.
Oh, yeah.
I see this.
That's no good.
No, this is very bad. It's a great way to pull a harness or a collar off of a dog if it's poorly fitting. B, optically, this looks really bad for neighbors to see you just absentmindedly tugging on a dog that's now out of your sight. And it's a great way for the dog to run away. Or you don't know, is the dog eating something? Is it trying to poop? Is it trying to pee? Is it just smelling? Like, you're completely unaware of what the dog is actively doing. And
and it's real awkward when the dog's like trying to poop, right? And
yes.
like toppled it over, and because you're not paying attention to what's happening.
Yeah, and you just keep walking,
Right,
and now
like-
it's pooping, and it's all over the
Yeah.
place. Yes. So it's like, but it's such a habit that dog owners have of dog goes out of my sight, I just tug it along behind me, and it will follow me. It's a real bad habit that most dog owners have, and trying to again break people of this and go, I almost like I don't want to even say like I don't care what you do with your dog, because I'm also trying I'm to the point of like, look, don't do this with your dog either.
I mean, yeah, like no, I mean that's what I used to do. That happened. Chuck would do that sometimes, right? Because like his was always like going to the bathroom. Like he would just go, and if you weren't paying attention, he would just like and here and like stop, like just boom, I'm done. This is where I'm going. Like you know what I mean? He wouldn't like sniff around and like try to find a place to go most of the time. He would just be like walk, 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 stop. Like and so you'd be like, oh. And so you had to pay attention to him because he would just stop right there. Didn't matter. Middle of the road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Car coming. He'd be like, I'm pooping. You're like, no, buddy, that's
Right.
not how this works. Like, you.
Yeah. And if you're not paying attention, you yank that leash over, and now you have a dog without a collar in the middle of a road with a car coming,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Bad times.
Yeah. So I have to teach people, like, when that dog, first off, you should never have a dog that's that far away from you where you don't see them stop. Like, you need to be attentive enough.
Oh, yeah.
Then, secondly, when they
My
do
problem
stop,
was that he was very slow, and so he would be behind you sometimes.
he'd be plotting, right? It's fine. He's plotting. But like, be attentive. When they do stop with them and go walk over to their side, right? Go stand right by them.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can pull up on the collar or up on the leash and move their head away. Because otherwise, that's a much more effective way of getting them away from the thing that they're engaged in. And usually by standing right next to them, you break their attention anyway, and they focus on you. It's easier to engage and maybe reach down and grab them, or it's just a much safer position to be than 6 feet away pulling on this dog that's stubbornly smelling at something on the ground and then grabs the dead carcass of the raccoon or whatever and starts trying with you. You're just like, stop. So, but it's one, and I understand it's really weird because that's what I think about and trying to impress upon people, like, that this is why we do this. I had somebody, I was ordering a coffee and dropping off some stuff for the little coffee shop that we kind of supply poop bag holders and tennis balls to. He was like, "Oh, are you with the company?" Talking about it. And I said, "Yeah, I am.
I am the company.
I am,
bro.
Exactly. You're talking to the company. I don't know why I'm Jesse Ventura. I'm just asking questions."
Oh my god,
jeez.
It's not a very good Jesse Ventura impression. You got to be like, "Let me tell you something, gorilla. That's not what
I was like, yes, and I said yes, and actually, hiring people and blah blah blah, and they said, "Oh, well, what kind of training? Can't be all that hard." And I just started walking through a typical visit. And he was like, "Oh, never mind. That's." He goes, "I think I'll just stick to making coffee." And I said, "I mean,
it's not that more. It's not that much more complicated than making some of those coffees that people order in a coffee shop, right? Like,
detail oriented.
It's just a detail oriented thing. Same like, not same process, but same theme, right?
Theme, like, exactly. Theme of going. Okay,
learn the steps and then follow the steps to
learn the steps and then be equipped with the skills to complete them. That's exactly that's exactly what it is. And so part of that I recognize is us equipping them with the skills. That's step one, right? And now putting it in context of these steps. Now that's the other part, is now applying those skills, and that does take time. That is a process, and we understand that. It's just what we do is constantly in flux, and obviously depends on who we get in and experience. We have one person who came in, and she was a surveyor and land title inspector
Okay.
in one of her previous jobs. So details are her jam.
Yeah, check. Right? Like, got it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. You'll pay attention. This is wonderful. Thank you. And so it's an interesting blend because we need people who are extremely task oriented and self sufficient. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but how like I need task oriented, self sufficient people, which is exactly the wrong kind of people to work on a team and openly communicate.
True.
And be flexible to when things change. So that's another component of this, is trying to now foster a atmosphere where they can and will openly communicate about things that they're seeing and experiencing and struggles that they're having or questions that they have, and letting other people know about things that they encounter, because that's not something that usually like task-oriented independent people do, right? They focus on my work here and now, and I'm going to do it well, I'm going to do it excellent. And we have to come alongside them and go, hey, you need to tell other people about something. Talk to others. Thanks.
True.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, glad it's been going excitingly.
Yeah.
Not boringly, right?
No,
That's
we do have quite a busy week ahead, obviously.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I alone have 13 visits on Saturday.
What? Oh my gosh. Holy cow.
Yes, that's just me.
So
it'll be fun. Be fine.
I mean, yes, but like
Yes.
it'll just be very busy, stressful.
Yes, but then it immediately dies down on Sunday. That's the other thing.
Well, that's good.
It goes from like,
so you're like you can like counting down to
it does, because we go. I think as
right?
like yeah, and now I'm not doing all those visits alone. I am shadowing several staff members on visits that they haven't done before, but I will be personally attending 13. We go from almost 30 on Saturday to like 11 on Sunday. So
that's very nice. Like,
yes.
Relaxificating. Like,
yes. And then everything else just kind of drops off from there. So it's yeah, and then we roll into December. So anyway, it's been it's eye-opening as always. Dealing with people, it's fun stuff, and trying to gauge what motivates people too, of what they need to hear, how it needs to be said. This is all management 101. Is boring.
Well,
people
I mean, yeah,
who have been doing this for years and years and years. But it's just another thing of going, oh, I said that too harshly. I probably need to this person. But another person, it's like you can say, yeah, that wasn't very good. And they'll go, oh, yeah, you're totally right. Versus if I say that wasn't very good, some staff who would be like, they'd be sad for many days. So I have to be careful.
Just don't do. So I got an email this morning.
Ooh,
right.
I love this. Okay.
So this was just one of those like they do this all the time at school, and it's just the most annoying thing in the history of the world. And it was just like, just a reminder to everyone, contract hours are here to here. So I know it's getting tough this time of year where schedules are hectic, but if you're, if we've noticed that you're not meeting these contract hours, the administrator will be by to see you. Like, as a person who this does not apply to at all, right? Like, it's like if you're leaving early or whatever, if you're going to be late, make sure you contact your building administrator. Like, as a person to whom this does not apply. Like, it's just annoying that this is a all staff email, right? Like, first of all, why are you calling out like 2 people in an all staff email? That's pretty not cool, right? Like, that's not.
Yeah, because I'm sure everybody knows what those kind of people.
Yeah, like, that person's dipping out like 5 minutes early. Oh man, like, whatever. But like, that's not an email that needs to go to everybody. That's just so annoying.
Yeah, and and I understand the difficulty of like you try and backtrack there and go, where did the communication fall down? Did somebody just say send out this email, or does somebody along that chain know the 2 people that this needs to go to, but made this decision so that they don't feel singled out by a direct email to them personally in their inbox? Like, I can never tell in those situations of like, was this just a concern somebody had, so somebody added, did an at everyone, or was this a conscious effort to avoid making somebody feel singled out and hurt their feelings?
Well, this is where it's hard to tell. And sometimes it's like it starts out as the second one, right? But it's executed so poorly that it's just like it comes across as y'all are doing bad. What are you doing? Like, that's what it comes across as, right? When it's executed poorly.
Yeah.
In this situation. So I imagine it came from a place of the second one, of like just making sure everyone's on the same page and blah, blah, blah. But the execution was so bad that it came across of everyone is doing a terrible job.
Sure.
And
yeah.
Like, so it's
yeah. And I definitely have had that feeling of, because we've had to bring on quite a few new staff because we turnover. But we have a core group of people who have been with us for several months, coming up on 6 months now. And I should probably reach out to them about that and just ask, like, do you feel like you are getting enough attention? Because with the new staff, like, oh man, do we say a lot of the same stuff over again?
Yeah.
Right. Like every time.
Well, and if you've been there for 6 months and been through like so much new staff, like, how are you feeling? Are you like, bro, stop?
Yeah. Do I need to? Because, what we do is we have weekly meetings where everybody should attend, and then we record those and we send them out. So there are times where the people who are present, like, I'm not talking to them, and I just kind of phrase it as like, for everybody, but for those, who are new, there's some information here, XYZ. But on other times it's like, well, this is good for everybody to remember, like, always check your shoes before you come in from the backyard so you don't smear poop everywhere. And
that's the other hard part too, right? Like, of how do you balance the I've said this a whole bunch with I haven't said this enough recently, right? Yeah. Like, that's the other hard information. Like, we have that problem at school, right? Because we have so few chances to have like big meetings with people, right? Like with like all staff, right? Most of them are like small group, whatever, which is fine. I don't care. But like the big all staff ones, like a lot of the big important stuff, a lot of times everybody just sort of assumes that everybody knows what's happening. But like when you have like so many new teachers or other new staff, right? And you just sort of like carry on like everybody knows what's going on. Like, maybe we talked about this 2 years ago, but since then we've had a lot of new people in the building. They have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, right? These are assumptions that get made in my life. So like, it's just that.
Yeah, no. And yeah, we have naturally I have created some checklists.
No,
like,
really?
like every time, like, these are the 11 steps that I have every time we onboard somebody, of like everything from when ordering the T-shirt and hat to walking through certain protocols and things like that. To up into including getting their feedback or reminders where it's like, and I'm adding those a lot more of like, oh, I seem to always remind new staff about XYZ. Okay, I need to make sure I include that in the new staff onboarding process so that I don't have to overburden existing staff with me reminding them on particular stuff. And trying to have more one-on-ones with them, because that is hard. I understand.
I mean, that's real hard. Like, that's not.
You get to a point where you have so many staff where it's like, I can't. If I did one-on-ones, all I would do is one-on-ones.
Yeah, that's true. But mine is allegedly tomorrow. We'll see.
True. Allegedly.
My formal observation was last week. So,
how was it to be formally observed?
I mean, my activity that we were doing ended up in the newsletter, so I'm assuming it went well.
Oh, snap. What?
That's what gosh.
Oh, fine. We call that a humble brag.
So I'm assuming it was fine. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, I have the meeting tomorrow is to hear the feedback from the thing that was last week, right? It was like on Thursday, maybe. And so I have a meeting tomorrow, just like a short one with the principal about like feedback, go over the checklisty thing or whatever. But yeah, sure. I was in the newsletter. We built a seismograph. Excuse me, seismograph. And so
what was that? What went into that?
It was a marker on a pendulum, but we did.
It's fine. And then did you have people like running and jumping around, or what?
We had some people shaking a table. Right. I got a big, those big long pieces of butcher paper.
Yeah.
Right? I got some of those. I cut a section that was probably maybe 6 feet long, and then about a foot wide. And I cut them into like sections of a little less than a foot wide. And we, some people's job was but my pendulum is a styrofoam cup full of marbles with a Sharpie stuck in it. Cool. Very high tech. It's like held in place by some binder clips. Oh yeah.
Hey, binder. I'm using binder clips for exactly 3 different things right now at my desk. So I
have all the binder clips. It's great. I use them all the time. And then I had my cup. I had a string tied to the cup, and the string was looped over some meter sticks, that I had taped together so that they would be a little more firm, right? So I have some meter sticks that we don't use in class because they're like the real flimsy ones, the ones that are like real thin and they're like flappy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the big chunky ones that are like really good. I have some like junky ones. And so they usually stay in the cabinet. So what I did was I took about 3 or 4 of those really flimsy ones and I just duct taped them together.
Nice.
To make a sturdy crossbeam. And we hung the cup from that. So 2 kids held the stick, right? They were in charge of pendulum holding. And then I put my table out, and then some kids were responsible for moving the paper, right? So I drew a big black line with a Sharpie in the middle of the paper. That's the baseline part. So they had to move that under the Sharpie, right? Okay. And then everybody else's job was to kick and move the table. So we got some very exciting seismic waves from this. That's very good.
Telling a bunch of 6th graders to attack a table.
Yeah, it worked pretty good.
Turns out.
So got some pretty good results. So yeah, those are hanging on the wall right now. But we did.
So what takeaway or lesson from them other than how hard it takes to push a table?
We were just talking about how it works, right? Like the mechanics of the actual machine and how they use, like, how do you measure a seismic wave in general? Like, What is a seismic wave and what does this tell you? So we were just relating this to like the size, like we're basically correlating the amplitude to the force of the earthquake. right? So we can then look at our graph and say, oh, well, this is a strong, like we can see this big, long, this tall amplitude height here. The distance between that is tall, so that means this was a stronger earthquake than this one over here, where the amplitude is smaller.
And having been part of a group that kicked the table harder, right? They're able to,
Yeah.
cause
they can make that correlation.
Good cause and effect there.
Yeah. So it's just kind of fun. We were talking about seismic waves, like P waves and S waves and all that stuff. So
yeah,
we were talking about seismographs and how you read them and all that kind of stuff. So pretty good. Fun times. Almost done with earthquakes, but I had to, like, Thanksgiving break is, tomorrow's the last day of school for this week. We only go Monday and Tuesday. So I just have to, like, figure out, like, okay, what am I do? How do I do this? What am I do? Like, I have to replan all my stuff out. So it's been all right. Just, like, scrambling to be like, oh, what do we got to get done for this? What's got to go here? Because of all these, like, drills that we had to do, like fire drills and all that stuff, and like everything.
Did you almost
like,
say earth drills?
Or I almost said earthquake drills. Like we didn't do a real earthquake drill, but I did one in my class because we were talking about earthquake safety. So
fair enough.
Obviously, we do it in class earthquake drill because it's hilarious.
So what was
all these drills and
the wind drill? I guess is your tornado drill, and then you got your and fire. So we
had a fire drill as well, right? So I'm way behind in my class from last year because we had all this like stuff. So I'm like going, what do I do? Oh no, how do I like rearrange some stuff and like cram it here and there? It's very annoying. So yes. But that was good, I guess. We'll find out tomorrow with the official review. We'll be officially reviewed and say, oh gosh, right.
And do they what goes into the review? I guess is it different every year, or do they have some of the same points of like
there's like a form. It's like a criteria form. I don't remember what it looks like exactly, so this is not very helpful commentary. But it's like, are you some of the stuff is like trying to remember before there's an official form, right? And it's like it's all about like some of it's about student engagement, so I'm gonna score very high on that because they were kicking a table, so obviously it's very good. But like like there's some like incidental things like how were you, and maybe those are the like informal observation. On the informal observation, when they just like show up in your room, it's like, what were you doing? Like, were you sitting at your desk? Were you engaged with students? Were you helping students? Like that kind of stuff. So the more formal one is like lesson design and curriculum implementation. Like, do your lessons match up with your curriculum and your goals and all that stuff? And then like talk about like instructional strategies and things like that, and like how our student engagement is a big thing, and some other stuff. So those are some of the big points they talk about. So we'll see how that goes. But no.
Dun dun dun. To be continued.
But yes, it's one of those things too. Like I don't remember what is on that form because the last one I did was like last spring at some point. So I don't remember because they usually try to do like two like official like walkthrough performance review things, right? There's like two official ones that happen. They're like scheduled, like I'm coming in this day, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a lot of like informal ones where they just like pop in, okay. And then they'll email you some kind of like feedback about things that they saw or what was happening in the classroom. So, slightly different criteria on them. There used to be a form for that one, but she's just been like putting them in an email without the form. So like she's like pulling stuff from the form, but just putting it in like a paragraph. So it's a little more digestible that way. It makes a little more sense. She's like, okay, that's good. So we'll see if I passed. Oh no.
I'm sure it'll do fine.
Yeah, I hope so. So blah. That's pretty much it though. This week is kind of hectic as well because we got lots of stuff going on, and then like trying to cram all this stuff at the end of this, like this 2 days of school, to where the kids are like insane and they're like, no, we have things to do. Stop. Like,
because you all then you're out the rest of this week. Are you out any of next week as well?
No. It's just this week. It's just Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
That's typical Thanksgiving break time.
Sure.
So about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we'll be back Monday for recommencing of activities. So just trying to get to a spot where like a break makes sense, you know, because like you don't want to be in the middle of something and then go on break for 5 days and then come back and having to like finish the thing, because that's very unhelpful, right? Like it's hard enough when you have to do it the next day. Like, okay, we're gonna finish this tomorrow. And they're like,
sure.
What do we do? What?
Yeah. Well,
so
it's kind of like
pacing is difficult.
Kind of like whenever I'm reading the kids a story, right, and can't quite finish a chapter. It's like that's so much harder to pick up in the middle of than at the finality. You know, when the chapter resolves.
It's a natural break, right?
Yes.
Like so trying to figure that out, get that like sorted and things like that. So, and other than that, we're just doing random stuff. Nowhere near as exciting as 30 pet visits, but just
I don't know.
I don't
know about that. Yeah, and of course, what happened? What had happened was we did all these meet and greets with people like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they get put on our emailer that we send out we send out our emailer list newsletter that we send out every Friday. And that has tons of like, hey, are you booked? Book. If you don't have a confirmation from us, you're not booked. And what happens is people during meet and greets, it's been happening more frequently. So I don't know. I got to look at what's changing or if it's just the kind of people that we're getting. They do the meet and greet and then they assume that we're good for the dates they told us verbally.
I mean, that's that's a misunderstanding that sort of makes sense, right?
Yes. So we're going to do some new follow up with like through text message of when after the meet and greet's done, we can just have a boilerplate like copy and pasted text that we send everybody. That's basically like, hey, no dates are confirmed until we have a booking and a 50% deposit. Because I did a meet and greet with somebody 2.5 weeks ago, and today they booked for 5 days this week. And then we had one guy who did we did the meet and greet, and he had mentioned like, oh, you guys do overnights. We were like, well, yeah, we can, but those are really limited. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And then he booked overnights, which is where we stay in somebody's home, and these are awful.
No,
and nobody needs to do these, especially not over Thanksgiving. And he booked those yesterday. I did a meet and greet with him a week ago, and he waited till yesterday to try and book 5 nights of overnight stay in his home. At which point I had to tell him, like, we are not available for that. And he was he was not happy about this. And I understand, like, he was hoping to see whatever on our booking website or booking sheet, but didn't see it and thought he could book this, but we have final say on what we will or will not do. So I had to convince him to go to drop-ins, and he wasn't happy about that, but whatever.
It'd be fine. It'd be no problem. Like, oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was not fun.
No, that doesn't. That sounds very hectic. Surprise 7,000 overnight days. That's not very exciting.
Right. No, nobody likes staying in somebody's home. Like, it's just.
It's kind of weird, right? Like, it's a bit strange.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. Like, one night, I guess it's fine. But like, 5, it's a little crazy.
Well, and that's the that's what a lot of people think of when they say pet sitter. They really mean house sitter. They want somebody to stay there 24/7, and that's not something I will ever do. when it was just Megan and I, and we were kind of doing this before we had kids and everything.
Yeah, that's
like,
different, right?
I get it, but fortunately, whatever. Some people will do that. That's not something we will do. So every time somebody says, "Hey, I'm looking for a pet sitter," I do that. Describe to me what you mean. What do you say? Pet sitter. I do. I'm like, are you? What does that mean to you? Because I can guarantee you, it's probably not what I am thinking of.
That'll be interesting. So, hopefully it goes good. Right? Hopefully it goes well.
It'll be fine.
All right. So, at the lull, I want your thoughts on some current events happening. Right?
Oh.
I want your thoughts on this because I've been reading about it and it's allegedly actually happening. So, tell me what you know about the Line. You heard of this thing? The Saudi Arabian megacity that is now apparently currently under construction.
No, is this one of their others like massive construction projects where they built islands shaped like palm trees? Is this like this thing?
Okay, yes, okay. But it's bigger.
Oh,
so geez. They claim this is going to be like some sort of smart mega city. It is going to be. It's literally a line across the desert. It is allegedly going to be 170 kilometers long. I can't remember how high it is. And it's just going to be like a mega city. Right? In this thing. Allegedly, the plan, it's going to be like mirrored on the outside, right? To help with like, I'm assuming heat retention. Right? But yeah, a total width of 200 meters only, but a height of 500 meters, which would make it the third tallest building in the world, but also 170 kilometers long. And so it's supposed to be powered by renewable energy, which is weird coming from Saudi Arabia. There's going to be like layers in this city. I don't really know what that means. I haven't seen like too many concept drawings from the inside because, they're kind of hush hush about these things. But like one layer is going to be like transportation, including a rail system, which is allegedly going to be a high speed rail system. But that doesn't make sense if your line is only 170 kilometers long. Like the train's going to take you from like, you're going to travel on the train sometimes like, couple 100 meters. So the high speedness of this doesn't necessarily make sense to me.
Really not necessary. Yeah, I'm looking.
And the proposed train speed is faster than any train that currently exists. So a lot of this is banking on like technology that doesn't quite exist yet. Which is an interesting plan for making a city. So yeah. What
I'm looking at this photo. Okay.
Yeah.
First off, what Second,
Yeah. Yeah. That was my first thought as well.
It runs like straight into an ocean, and
It's
all
the
of
Red Sea. It's the Red Sea.
Red Sea, yeah, and all of the interior photos are like lush forests, and
yes, which is interesting.
And it's almost tropical in nature,
but the top is open,
and the top is open. So, and they're claiming it's a temperate climate on the interior, but how?
I don't know.
Where
because
is this
outside
coming
is
from?
definitely not
How will the
temperate.
Where do they?
I'm imagining there's going to be the plan is probably for like very much water, like salt water desalination. But that technology is also not just like super advanced, not enough to be giving that much water to that many residents plus lush tropical gardens, right? Like that it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, and they say it'll be will be built around nature rather than over it.
Now,
why are
again,
you planting trees
in a desert?
Grow that, trying to have that temperate climate in an desert.
That's another good point, because if your city is 170 kilometers long, but you're building around nature, right? You have just built a 170-kilometer impermeable barrier through wildlife habitat. So now animal migration is now chopped in half for any animal species that happen to live inland of this, right? So like that's not good.
No, this can't be good for the environment. Like just the mirrored walls, like everything will be blind for days. Like it's a desert. There's a lot of sun. I don't know if do they know this? Like how will you? Okay, we are approaching. What will aircraft do around this thing?
I don't any idea.
I am so
and like it's like, oh yeah, this will, obviously they're talking about like this says it is claimed by the Saudi government that it will create 4,600,000 jobs. But like doing what? Like what are they going to do? Is that just building it? What are people going to do? Like
all of those estimates.
Once it's built, what do you do in a thing like that?
Polish. You got to polish the glass,
right? Like
mirrors.
So this brings me to some thoughts, right? Let's think about cities that have been super urban planned, right? When we think about cities like this, certain words spring to mind. A lot of those words are Soviet, and
a lot of them encompassing and including Soviet in nature. Yes.
Right. Like, so there's not a whole lot of cities that are planned from the start to be like start to finish like that, right? Not to be like, we're going to build it, boom, in one go. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the capital of Kazakhstan is like this, and that city looks weird, right? It's very Soviet inspired. It's very wide boulevard. It's very odd, and things don't fit, right? And then around the periphery, you get like slum start popping up and things like this, right? But most of the time, planned cities like of this nature don't work. Cities are, not to be like romantic about this, but like cities are very like organic things that happen, right? You start in an area and then it sort of spirals out based on the need of the city. So anytime you do like planned super large scale things, right? The planning cannot encompass every need that's going to arise. It cannot. It just simply does not function that way. And so you get these things that look really, really odd and unfinished and broken, and they don't work correctly, right? Like just like a city in a straight line is just a weird concept, because like getting from like the grocery store to your work to thing, like how does that to you like
Oh, well, see, yeah,
are you
because
gonna
there's
like
no. Well,
are you
so
gonna you like have to go like so I'm basically if we're thinking about it just like in the simplest terms, like I walk out of my door, I had to go to the grocery store, I have to go left, but to go to my job I have to go right, but to go to where my kids go to school I have to go more left. Like how does this conceptually work, this ping ponging between all the places I need to go, because I can only go in a linear fashion between them. There
I
is no like
I
other
almost
route.
guarantee that the connectivity between one end to the other is almost zero, and nobody will have any need to traverse the entire distance.
Oh
That
no, it'll
it will
be like
be
sectioned off, like
sectioned off and to just
neighborhoody, right?
yes, neighborhoods like like well, Kansas City in some portions, right, has some of that planning of like we're going to try and put all shops at every set intervals so that you don't have to travel any too far. So basically that's just what's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
you're gonna have to do. But I don't know how that goes. But see, here's where the Soviet-ness comes into this of like, well, then what does that mean for jobs, right? Because I can't just have the same job in
Over and over and over
over and
again
over
in
and
a,
over
like
again.
in a
So
block, right? Like
yeah. So
some
now
of
that
them you
means
can, like custodial staff, blah 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 blah. But like service industry things, like you'll have to have like food, maybe restaurant, but then like a bank. I don't know. How often do you need to put a bank? How often on your line do you space for bank? How like you know what I mean? Like that's
yeah, exactly. Right. What's the purpose of that? Or how do you plan for that exact need? Um, and then it just this just seems like the unnecessary exertion of control for no other reason than they think they can. Like there's genuinely no need for this.
no, that's the other problem. Like there isn't a need for this, right? And it's talking about like it'll house this many people. Like where are those people coming from? Like where?
Yes.
Why would they move there? Like
From where?
from where? Your country already doesn't have like a huge population anyway. I mean, it's like it's fine, but it's not like you're not like hurting for space, you know. And they also have a bit of a history of like starting big building projects that don't get finished.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting plan as well.
I
Like,
will say that there is some. If I remember correctly, they are needing to do something with their billions and billions of dollars, um, to put them into work and production and things, because they have just so much money sitting around that they are working to invest it, and obviously they want to invest it in themselves.
I mean, yeah, and I know that it's probably a good idea to invest it in things that are not. You have to diversify your stuff, right? Because like if we think about it, they are a one product state. Really.
Yes.
They don't have like what else are you exporting? Nothing. Or you have one export. That's really it. You don't have a lot of other service or stuff, like there's not a lot of other things happening. So you do need to do and diversify that portfolio so that you can continue to have, money and make money and do things. But like, I don't see how a straight line city accomplishes this. Right.
Mm.
It's very confusing to me. Like I said, like you said, I mean, like though I don't understand the purpose. Like what, why, right? It would make sense in like it would make more sense to me if this was like a highly populated area and you were trying to do a thing to like, we're gonna, we maybe someplace like, I don't know, some places like super populated, like certain parts of Brazil, right? So like Sao Paulo, for example. If you're like, okay, we're gonna build a mega city here so that we can relocate this chaos into a more organized structure and try to have more of an urban plan other than just like bleh, this city that's just sort of like exploded and there's just stuff everywhere and it makes no sense. Right? That makes more sense to me. Like,
right.
As a potential candidate for this, but like middle of desert.
Well, and what's interesting,
is I
am on the neom.com website, and
the neom thing. Yeah.
Apparently, the line is just 3. There's just one of 3 regions that they're focusing on. The line is what we've been talking about here. Basically, imagine a skyscraper on its side in the middle of a desert. They have the Octagon, which is another planned city in the shape of guess. Where that's going to be their.
It's not very clever.
That's going to be their focus of industry and technology. And then they have another one called Trojena, which is a mountaintop resort city, highly designed as well. So you can see all of a sudden they've got the fun, the play in the mountains, the business sector of the Octagon, which and then they have the line, which is where everybody will just live and will be happy. And they are now dictating about where people go, and they
we're
highly
close
planned
down like other places and like move everybody to these places.
Yes.
So
it'll be fine. Perfect.
Fine. Yeah. So follow-up question. Who keeps reading sci-fi / cyberpunk literature and going, oh no, this is a great idea, let's do that?
These books always end happily.
Right? Like, it seems like a lot of the news, I can't remember, there was another headline that I saw not too long ago, and it was like, it's like somebody has been reading like cyberpunk stuff, and they played cyberpunk or something, and they're like, oh no, let's do that. You're like, you missed the point. Right? You glossed over the whole point. You missed the whole story arc here of how bad this goes. Or because in these settings, right, in like sci-fi, like these mega cities don't go well, right? They're a bad plan. Something always goes wrong. All the stuff is about like how it's bad, how all these, it's always about like the elite get set here, and then like the marginalized have to like fight in the corners for scraps and whatever and eke out their own stuff. Like, that's what the literature is about. And then that's what this website says is happening.
Yeah. Well, you can see, again, it's very very alluring to try and do these, to make things nice and clean, and the equality that it can provide people, quote unquote. But what people forget is that in these situations, the immense amount of control, oversight, rules, regulations necessary to keep that in the status quo.
This is all sounding very Soviet again.
Yes, exactly. No, it really. Yes,
no, I know it
is. That's where everything goes off the rails. Is the more you try and exert such an immense control in cookie cutterness, and you have this job in this place in this home for this reason, for this, and that it starts. What does that start doing? It takes the utopian idea, and now it turns it into a hellscape, because you have removed the humanity from the people who are actually in that place, because of what you have to do to control that for them to be there.
And this is what happened in the Soviet Union, right? This was what was happening when you're trying to control all the minutia.
Yes,
that just occurs, right? Even like, even so far as like economic flux, right? When you're constantly trying to like overcorrect for like natural market flux, like things just go bad in a hurry. But like when you're trying to plan like every minute detail of everything, like over, like really just clamping down on controlling and micromanaging like every single step of every single thing and anybody's every single day, like stuff just goes sideways in just the most odd ways, right? and like weird stuff happens because you're trying to over plan for things, and then when things happen that you didn't plan for, like the system just shuts down. Like, nope, we can't handle any deviation from the norm, right? Because you didn't plan for it properly, and it just like explodes.
Yeah,
right. It just blows up.
Yeah, you get the
This
Stasi.
is like literally the
right.
Soviet Union, right?
Yeah.
This is what happened. Like little random places. They were like, oh, we're gonna build a town here in the middle of Arctic Circle, and we're just gonna grab people and send them there. And they'd be like, this is your job and your job and your job and your job. And they're like,
and everything will be fine.
Yeah, and everything wasn't fine. And then the biggest problem with the Soviet Union obviously came after it went away and all the people were there where they sent them. And and so there was no government controlling that these jobs had to arbitrarily be in this place, and the jobs left, and everyone's like, oh no,
we have nothing now. Yeah. Well, and then just there's the control. There's as I was saying, in East Germany, the Stasi trying to just do mass surveillance on people to control and to keep tabs on what everybody's doing. And well, how well that went. I just these mass utopian ideas of what the future can look like are very not appealing at all. No, let alone there's a societal impact. There's I know they have boilerplate words about zero carbon emissions and living with nature, not over it or whatever, but it's like I don't color me skeptical here, but I have a lot of other questions for how that you're going to make this entire 170 kilometer monstrosity carbon, neutral. Sure.
I don't buy the living with nature part. Like, I have many ideas and I have seen lots of other concepts for that particular phrase being played out in certain design elements. And it looks nothing like this.
No.
It looks nothing like a brutalist style rectangle.
No, it's a mud hut, right? in the forest. It's really
right. It's like it's like houses built with green roofs and like hobbit holes, right? And like things like this, like highways that are elevated so that there's nature pathways under them. These kind of things, right? These kind of ideas are living with nature, in my opinion, right? Not dropping a cube.
Not standing out in stark contrast of the rest of the surroundings.
Yeah, and it's just so strange looking. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to. Yeah,
I have not heard of this, but upon seeing the very first photo of it, I had opinions, and I
thought you might. Just bring it up here.
It just, it hurts your brain to try and think through that and see. And again, there's these reasons. You can see a logical progression, logical or not logical, of how you could arrive at something like this. But to me, it just takes a simple next step kind of. Take the next step. And the next step, and you're going to keep this around for how long? For perpetuity? How could this thing doesn't look like it can be repurposed very easily, or because cities tend to have a life cycle, like you were saying, Brandon. Like there's an organic nature to these things, and the usefulness of certain areas kind of go away and come back. Just think about the American Mall and the life cycle it had, and how thank goodness we didn't have that master plan of the integral nature of everything, because that stymies so much creativity and ability to adapt and change to a changing community and landscape. But I guess in this context, they're going, well, no, you're not going to work anywhere in here. This is just for you to live. You're going to go work at Oxagon, or you're going to go work up in the mountains doing stuff. So
people have to work here, right? Because you can't have. This city is planned capacity is 9 million people.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like, you have to have somebody working here. You know, you can't just live there only, right? There
Sure.
has to be
Fair enough.
some jobs going on here. And my other question that I just had while looking at these other concept drawings is, where does like, what do you do with the waste? Like, what is happening with that? Garbage, human, or otherwise? Like, where is that going? Because these gardens look fine, I guess, but like, what is the infrastructure under this to make this function? Like, where does that go? What does that do?
See, you remember how you said it went into what? You said it went to the what sea again?
It's the Red Sea.
The Red Sea.
So,
It's the Red Sea. I'm sure there are just pipes underneath here. But they're just going to drain the sludge slowly over time to go get dissolved and carried away by the Red Sea. Because we all know that the solution to pollution is dilution.
Dilution. That is true.
So that's probably because it's like where's the infrastructure for that? Because it's
too.
Not in a desert.
Yeah. Also, looking at a couple of these prototypes from the inside, the sense of scale in here is very incorrect, because if we're supposed to be 200 meters wide, some of these drawings are just simply not possible. Like, we we cannot do this.
No,
because 200 meters, not really that far, right?
No,
It's not.
no.
That's not really very wide. I don't know. Sounds like a big number, right? But it isn't. It's not. It's not very wide at all. And if that is supposed to be, 200 meters across, there's no way that any of these drawings can work. Like, that's just not. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't.
I don't. Yeah, there's just so many things in here. If you just read the language, it's just ridiculous. Oh my gosh, it hurts. It hurts my brain.
Yeah, it does. Okay. And things like, living with nature, right? Okay, these phrases again, right? This to me says like being able to go places without any transportation whatsoever, like walking or like cycling, right? So if you think about like living with nature, right? That means to me like less car, less transport. So it means like a Dutch city, right? Like I can ride my bike everywhere, right? You can't ride your bike in a straight line. There's no roads in here. So like, what do you like? You have to take some kind of transportation somewhere. Like there's no like, they don't appear to be walking.
No. Oh well, yeah. That's
like
on here. They say, oh, hold on. I'm going to scroll up because it's going to really hurt my brain. They say, oh no, where is this? I just lost it because it was like R0 car. No. Oh, hold on. Here it is. Reduced. Oh, here it is. With zero. Our zero car environment is part of a 100% sustainable transport system with zero pollution and a zero wait time.
Yeah, you know what else would be zero pollution, zero wait time? Cycling paths.
Well, what?
Right?
Yeah. And
so like what? There's no way zero wait time. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
There's no way
that millions of people there. You're waiting on something.
Unless people are waiting on something, right? Like this is what. Yeah.
Unless you're literally having it sectioned off to the nth degree, such that you don't have to move, but I don't know.
Now
20.
that's what I'm wondering. Like how so you have this, is every like I don't know, kilometer, let's say, just arbitrarily, right? Is every kilometer basically a repeatable section,
It would have to be.
right? That's what I'm wondering. Like,
but
is
how?
it like that? Like, if I'm gonna have no wait time and I'm gonna do things like this, is there like a block? Like, I'm imagining just like like Legos, just like strung side by side, where every piece is just like the same or very
Let's
similar.
look at this from a cruise ship design standpoint.
I think that's a really good analogy, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where there's just it's a set length and width, and it has all the same stuff and different, and you just can kind of go about your time in a cruise ship, and you can go to this restaurant and this, but it never changes, right? It's always the same, but it's all self-sufficient and self-contained in as much as a cruise ship is, except that has to be, resupplied and whatever.
Yeah.
But like
while you're out, right?
Yes. Yeah. But to me, how many people would want to go just live on a cruise ship?
I mean, there are some people probably.
There are some people.
But you don't want to change ships, right? Like you wouldn't want to be in the same ship for that long.
Yeah.
Because you would get to the point where it would be repeatable. And like, even if it's like, so even if in this thing, like, there are some variation. So like on a cruise ship, like, let's say every deck has a restaurant, but like, it's not the same restaurant on every deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. But in a city like this, you can't have the restaurant on deck 4 be like way good, because then everybody will want to go to deck 4 and nobody's going to deck 3. Right. So now you're like,
it's also,
your plan doesn't involve any like variety, right? You can have no like competition.
Also sounding a bit
Soviet. Yeah, the Sovietness comes back in. Like you must make same borscht everywhere, right? Like that's what you gotta do. Like,
yep, or like what they did with their cars, right? Like everything was the same quality. You didn't get, there was no options for anybody. It was all the same.
Well,
okay.
When you say anybody,
I mean for
normal people, not
normal
leaders
people
of the party.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like
those not in control. Because that's the other thing of like, I don't think Crown Prince, whatever his name is going to have residence in this city.
No.
I really don't.
If he does, he's going to have like a penthouse in like the top floor of like one part, right? Like
he will have a whole section to it.
He'll have like a
whole kilometer to himself. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, maybe like that's a good point. Like there could be a royal family section just so they would be like, we're of the people too,
but not touching the plebes because
yeah. We're on the top floor here, looking down
on you, figuratively, not real, but also
yes, of course,
but also in reality.
Wow. In reality, they're actually on the mountaintop. So like,
yeah. Oh, I just yeah. There's so many things wrong with this. I can't even.
Yeah, it's so weird. And like you said before, like the biggest thing that I've been keep coming back to is the point, right? There's a reason that in like science fiction, right, mega cities are set in like certain areas of the world that make sense. Right? Japan, often in sci-fi fiction, there is a not sci-fi fiction. That's dumb, Brandon. Don't say science fiction. In sci-fi, like Japan is a setting for megacities, right? Because it is a very, very densely populated area, right? Yes. Certain sci-fi has like parts of the U.S. that have megacities, like usually someplace like Los Angeles-y, right? Or like the East Coast, like the corridor basically from like Boston to DC, where it's already a megacity anyway, pretty much. But like that kind of area, right, where the population density is so high already that it's a solution for population density.
Right.
That's what a megacity in normal parlance is for. When people talk about megacities, it's usually in that context, right? So it seems odd to me to completely envision, design, construct a city for 9 million people in a place where there's no people.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like
it's not solving a problem.
You're not solving a problem, right? You're not solving a population problem, an overpopulation problem, right? A population density problem. You're just plopping it down in a place where no one lives, you know? And it seems real odd, right? Like it's just real strange to do that, right? The population of Saudi Arabia itself is only 35 million people, right? Let's look this up.
Where's the rest of the people? Where are the rest going?
Number one, where are the rest of them going? I guess they're staying in the other cities, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but
like, yes, that is right. That maybe they're staying in Verdia or whatever. Like, I don't know, but yeah. So that's one question. But they only have 35 million people total, right? Like,
hold
on, I'm doing something real quick here. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
So in the so for comparison, this like the East Coast corridor area of the United States, this area we're talking 118 million people, right?
Yeah.
So over 100 million people in that area. So like that's like the whole East Coast of the United States. So probably like a little bit less. So I'm talking about the Northeast, right?
Yeah.
So that again, that is a place where you have, mega city construction. Not a place where there's only 35 million people to begin with. That seems very just out of context.
It's so weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's strange.
But yeah, again, back to what? What are they trying to solve? I don't think they know.
The population of Japan, just Japan, 125 million people.
Wow.
Right. So like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why? What is going on? There we go. I just want to bring that up today. I wanted your thoughts on this bizarre goings on.
I'm interested to keep tabs on this and see what happens. Because, yeah, that's very odd. It's very odd.
It's real odd.
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am intrigued. Also horrified.
All right.
But
yes.
Whatever. Fine. Thanks. Okay. Well, we'll have that futuristic fun on our.
Yeah. Periodic updates as they occur.
Be on the lookout. Fun. Okay. Add that to the list. Put a marker right there. Okay. Very good. Well, that'll bring me night terrors tonight as I try and.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
yeah.
And on that bombshell. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.